Well, welcome back to another episode of Nostalgia Street, where we share the stories that shape us. And our special guest today, as we always do, we just go by first name at this point, is Rebekah. And right now I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Vince, for the stunning question of the day.
So our special guest today sometimes goes by Becca or B Money. She's a serial entrepreneur. She does a lot of different things in our community. You'll be excited to see her. But first, we want to ask her a question. So Rebekah here has done a lot of things in her life, and apparently she did every activity available in high school.
We did, yeah.
So with the Super Bowl being a recent memory here, Rebekah, my question to you today is, if you could have a Super Bowl type level event for a non-sporting traditional sport, what would it be? Would it be the Super Bowl of jazz band? The Super Bowl of volleyball, the Super Bowl of
that's sport.
basket weaving, well, non-traditional, non-hype sports, non-popular sports, you know?
It would be board games, which is probably a little bit silly, but yeah, I love, it would be the Super Bowl board games. There'd be all kinds of different tables, and everybody could choose what they're going to play, and it'd be rowdy and fun. And
Would there be like a one game, though, that would decide a winner?
oh my gosh, that would be, or playing Pictionary with like large scale Pictionary where you had to draw by wheelbarrowing people around with a big pencil. That would be fun.
Oh, that's cool.
That would be fun. Or catchphrase where you had to catch the person, bring them around like human board games. There we go.
What would your halftime performance be?
Oh, I don't. I'm terrible at knowing music groups and everything. Halftime performance. A comedian. I wouldn't even pick a. I wouldn't pick a singer. I'd do a comedian.
Jim Gaffigan?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, and any others I probably wouldn't know, but yeah, I'd choose a comedian because it's too racy and always too polarized when we do music. So comedian, which also isn't safe, but would be funny.
Look forward, viewers, to Rebekah's Super Board Game Bowl coming soon
so
in the
fun.
future.
It would be cool. And knowing her, she'll make it happen.
Nostalgia Street invites you on a retro ride that's more than just a trip down memory lane,
Uncover life lessons and personal growth stories that stem from our collective past.
so you can live a richer, more connected life today.
Whether you're a 90s kid, an 80s teen, or simply young at heart, you'll find something to relate to in each episode.
Now, here are your hosts, Vince and Jeff.
All right, so our guest is Rebekah Scott from Rebekah Scott Designs, but you have other spinoffs, if you will, right?
Yeah.
What are the other spinoffs that you've got under your brand?
1948 Leather is our genuine leather collection, which I was just telling Vince, we're merging that alongside the same website as Rebekah Scott Designs, so you can buy genuine leather purses or our canvas. And then I also have a podcast and academy and a membership group called The Encourager. So those are my little offerings, because I learned a lot while doing the one business, and I was like, I should show some people what to avoid and also where I've had some successes, so I wanted to share it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So if we go back in our time machine and we look at little Rebekah, what did little Rebekah's life look like when you were younger?
So I'm a twin, so that shapes a lot of...
Did I know that?
I don't know if you did.
I'm a twin.
You are?
I am.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Boy or girl?
I was a boy, and
Thank you for clarifying.
and my sister was a girl.
Okay.
You still are.
Yeah, true. We were born 3 minutes apart. My mom had a C-section.
Okay.
And then people would always say, well, are you identical?
I know.
Like, well, no, she's a boy and a girl. Or my sister would say the classic line, no, he's the one with the penis. She said that when we were younger, she actually said that.
What's the rating of our show again?
That's not a
I was
dirty
kind of
word.
thinking the same thing. It's not. It's just a normal word. Use the words.
So your twin is?
Sarah, and we are fraternal as well.
Okay.
She was a minute older, and to this day, if they say, well, which one's older? She'll say, I got my minute in. Like, it's a pride thing for her. And my mom didn't know she was pregnant with twins until 10 days before.
Oh, well, my mom didn't know until her water broke and my leg shifted and revealed my sister's heartbeat.
Okay, so that was, yes, there was 2 different heartbeats, and this was 10-day appointment before. My dad wasn't there for this one. And then we were born 3 days later, but we were, she knew 3 days before she was going to have us, and she was 10 days overdue.
Oh, no.
And then ours is actually really, it's a little bit freakish, but not worth your podcast time. But yeah, we are fraternal, but our voices are the same, mannerisms are the same, but we don't look at all alike. So,
wow. And
my dad always introduced us as, this is Pete and repeat.
Pete and repeat.
And to this day, too, if people don't know us, he loves telling people we're twins, and he says, this is Pete and repeat in our 40s. He loves it.
So did you have any other brothers or sisters besides Sarah?
Yes, 2 older brothers, Philip and Joshua.
Wow. So what was the age difference in them?
So my oldest brother's 8 years older than me, and then Joshua is 4 years older than me.
And then you and,
and then
Sarah.
me and Sarah. Yeah.
And then that was it. Mom's like, I'm done.
Yes.
I thought I was getting 3. I'm getting 4.
Yes.
I'm good to go.
But my dad still to this day asked me to do twins, and he would do it again. He loves saying he has twins. Yeah.
That's cool.
Where did you grow up, and how much trouble did you all get into?
A lot, but I would say that.
Surpassed a lot.
But our version of like trouble is much different than like probably city version of trouble. Or I'm not sure, but we grew up West River, and that's a thing, in South Dakota. And when I tell people that, they're like, "Oh, that makes sense." And then you're like, "Well, what does that mean?" But I grew up in Phillip, and like our form of mischief was like building zip lines before they were like mass manufactured, from tree houses down to the shop, and then taking bets on who had to go first. Like my mom also let us sleep wherever we wanted in the summer. So we would like set up tents by the big dam, by the small dam, in the shelter belt, in the barn, in the garage, in neighbor, but not like in town neighbors. Like we just set up all the time and slept in different places. It was really fun. Yeah.
You slept around.
Yes.
Totally a West River thing.
We let our kids sleep around. Not a big deal. I got another one if I lose that one. No big deal.
Yeah.
That's why they're twins, right?
Yeah. So that was kind of the
So your dad,
mischief.
he's a farmer?
Farmer and rancher. Yeah.
So like agriculture or what am I saying?
Wheat.
Thank you. I couldn't get it out.
That's okay.
Did he have cows at all or not?
Yes, we had lots of cows.
Oh,
So
you did?
we spent a lot of time on the back of a horse, and also taking bets on who had to fall closest behind Dad and that sort of thing. So Sarah and I had to share our horse, and I still to this day ride afraid. But I ride because, well, we were forced to, for one. I mean, not forced to, but it was like, well, today's we're going to move the cows, and so I still ride afraid and fell off a lot and was always behind. But funny story, my dad we were moving for like 4 miles a day, and I had a horse that was only 13 hands tall, so she's tiny. In fact, I have a whole collection off of her. But anyways, our cat was missing. Our indoor cat was missing, and I found her on the ride dead. And I was screaming, and my dad had passed her, but probably didn't know it. And then I found her, and I was like, "Dad, get off your horse." And he knew like by my tone, and he's very driven. When you got there, there was a plan, there was a method. He looks like a wall drug cowboy. But anyways, he had to come back, and he was like, I'm like, "You said she was missing, and here she is dead." And so he did get off and console me for a little bit. Meanwhile, like cows are still being moved, and my brothers are moving all them, but he did take the time to like, "I'm so sorry." Oh, I was mad. So I knew those were the chances, but I didn't think I would actually walk by them.
How old was the cat?
Probably like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old. Yeah.
So you're more of a cat person or a dog person?
Both, but my
Okay.
husband hates cats, so now I've just become a dog person.
Just a
But
dog
I love
person.
both. Yeah, I like
Do we
animals.
need a cheers for the cat? Do you remember the cat's name?
Cheers to the cat.
Oh yeah, sassafras.
Sassafras.
To sassafras.
Cheers to sassafras.
Cheers to sassafras.
Heads up. So I remember after church, we went to Red Lobster, which we never, it was always Pizza Hut or something like that.
Okay.
I'm like, we're going to Red Lobster.
Oh, fancy.
What's this all about? And halfway through the meal, my dad lets us know that Chico, our outdoor dog, who'd been barking for a long time, and we found out he had like a throat issue. And so it was time to take Chico and put Chico down.
worst.
So my dad, he's in the middle of the restaurant, and he starts breaking up, telling us that he didn't have the heart to take Chico to the vet to put her down or put him down. And so instead, he took Chico to the city limits, tied a long leash, gave him a ton of food and water, and just left him there. And we're like,
He thought it was necessary to tell you how he.
and so we're crying about, well, let's go get him. And he goes, well, that's why I wanted to wait to tell you. He said, I came back a day later because I felt bad for leaving him there, and somebody had already taken him. So
Okay.
they're like, well, maybe he went to a better home, or maybe somebody actually took the dog down. But I mean, I guess you could look at it from both ways, but my dad did not have the heart to kill the dog.
Okay. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah, yeah.
Wherever you're at, buddy.
Chico. Oh, we're doing pets now?
Yeah, you got one?
Tony and I's first dog was a black lab named Keto, who was
Keto?
Keto, K-I-T-O.
Oh, sweet.
Okay.
And he was a dumb dog. but he was our dog.
Dumb
Yeah.
dog.
Like we moved to Houston, and my dad had a mechanic shop downtown Houston. And for whatever reason, my dad decided he would raise chicks in the shop or whatever.
Okay.
Keto would just lay there, and he'd watch these chicks. And then other dogs would come and bully the chicks or try to eat them, and he just let them do it. He just had. And then the thing about Keto is he would run away like every week. Like every week, we get a call from like the pound to go pick him up. It was like whatever, and then one day he just never came back.
Poor Keto.
So,
Now we have to cheers keto.
I don't know if that's a sad
Yeah.
one or not, but here you go.
Keto.
Go our pets.
Wherever that. And I've got a few more I could tell, but I'll shut up. And it's all about Rebekah today. It's not about our pets as much, at least ours. So what were some of the things that you would do? Like, how big was your school?
I think the town of Philip is like 1,100 people, so I had 30 people in my class.
Wow.
And then we had a unique story. So my family, you know, we farmed and ranched, and then my dad had a falling out with granddad after 45 years together, and we picked up and left in like a week.
Wow.
Loaded up the horse trailers and left East. Like we moved to East River. My mom's family was, and so like. I have a class size that's 30, and then we went to Sioux Valley, Volga, South Dakota, and that was a class of 60. So I was so grateful I had a twin because I had a built-in best friend, and we were just like, okay, how are we going to do this? So,
Interesting.
yeah, small town, lots of mischief, but it's fun.
So where did you move to again?
Volga.
Volga. Okay.
Outside of Brookings.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. So when I first moved to South Dakota, this is a geography lesson for people who aren't from this area listening to this. But South Dakota is separated almost pretty much down this middle, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's the Missouri River that kind of goes through or close to Pierre, our capital, which should be pronounced Pierre for people outside of South Dakota.
Yeah.
Yeah, starts on.
But
We rednecked it.
yeah. But when I moved to Sioux Falls, and then my job said we need you to spend a week in on West River, and I'm like, what's that mean, West River? Like, well, we need to go to Rapid. I'm like, what do you call it, West River? Well, that's just what we do here. And they said, oh, by the way, when you get there, just know that people on West River don't like people that are East River.
Reverse. It's the reverse.
And I said, really? That's a thing? Like they don't like each other? And she's like, well, just wait. So the first place I go, as soon as I get across the river, I was at a gas station and I was getting gas. I was talking to this guy for a while. And he's like, where are you from? I'm like from Sioux Falls, but originally from Missouri. He's like, oh, cool. And we kept talking. I said, by the way, can I ask you a question? I said, I hear that people on the east side of the state don't like the people, or the people on the west side don't like the people on the east side. Is that true? And without hesitation, he goes, yep.
I would say it's the reverse of that. That they are. I don't know if it's because there's less people on that side, so you're just friendlier because you need to make more friends.
Yep.
But I experienced the reverse of that. It was like East River was like, you're from West River. And I was like,
Wow.
gosh, what does that mean? So,
I mean, I've lived in the state now for 20 years, 30 years. I
Sure.
don't know. I mean, I could have somebody come up to me from wherever. I would not know
would
the
not know.
difference.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't.
Yeah.
But this guy said, well, you guys talk too fast. That's why he said that he didn't like people from East River. They talk too fast.
they talk too fast.
I'm like, okay.
Wow. We're in the really
I mean, I've been
nitty-gritty.
talking for the last 10 minutes. Do I
Yeah.
talk too fast? You're from Missouri. You're okay.
It balances out.
My
Yeah.
brother has a T-shirt that he got at a gas station that says "us and them." It's like the shape of South Dakota. It says "us and them," and then they have the reverse of it too. It's like that's funny.
So is there a wound, an injury that you sustained as a child? Because you did live on a farm.
You fell off the
Anything
horse
is
a lot.
possible.
I did. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, is anything where you broke a bone or you have a
I did.
scar?
I did have like 8 black eyes.
Oh my Lord.
I had a lot of black eyes, but they were from.
So
like
you slept
mischief
around and you had a
again.
lot of black eyes.
Yeah,
is
and I
what we're
don't
hearing.
even know. Like some of them, I'm like, okay, one we were playing in the playhouse, and I got smucked with a hammer when we were hammering something in, and like
Ugh.
the rest of them, I don't know. Probably involved me falling off, but not wanting to say that I fell off because I was supposed to be better at it than I was. I do have a distinct memory a little bit with the pet, but it was my biggest cowgirl moment ever. The cows had gotten to the alfalfa field. And if they eat too much of it, they just get bloated and bloated and bloated. And so we were moving them to a different pasture. And my dad threw a paring knife at me, so just like a little pocket knife. And I had to, while I was riding, stab the back of the cow right between its hip bones so that it would release
Sure.
and then take off.
And you
so
did that?
I did it. I
Nice.
did it,
Wait.
which is like, oh my gosh. But I had the little thing, and he told, okay, right between, and we're riding, and there's noise and everything. So it's like, no, I think he didn't think I would do it. And so then there was a part of me that was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I did it and then run away as fast as possible because it reeks to high heaven. But I was like, all of a sudden, I was like, I'm amazing.
So let's back up. You're both riding and he throws a knife at you and you catch it and then
probably
you
at
stab
that
the cow?
point, it was like trotting, like, hey, here's what you need to
Okay.
do. And I was like, and I think my brother was in on it too because I'm sure they were like, she's never going to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, well, watch this. And then, is it going to kill her? No. It's the best thing you can do for her. So, boop, boop, and then keep going.
Or stitches used after the stabbing?
No, you don't. It like
does that
just
work?
I don't know, but it
like-
just releases it, and then it's the best thing you can do for them, so
I've
they're
seen
not
people
miserable.
do that where they let the gas escape from a
Yes.
cow
Yep.
stomach. But I always wondered,
Same thing.
well, does it grow back? It must. But what's that
I guess I
look
should
like?
have checked the number. But my dad was like, we also had a cow that was, it was a cow, but we had a 2-headed calf one time. That was super science lesson. That was crazy. And then one of our cows died, and he was really good friends. My dad also did vet work with him, like I think they're called vet techs now, but my dad just did it back in the day in the winter.
Yeah.
And he dissected the cow because he wanted to find out what happened. So we got to look at the brains and the 4 stomachs. And my dad had a permanent marker, and he would like write 1, 2, 3, 4. Like he just thought it was, and it was fascinating. Like looking back,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how many other kids got to have that experience.
I didn't. Not till college, anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm glad I didn't eat breakfast.
right. Yeah.
We'll be right back.
When I was in school, my degree was in hotel restaurant management, and they showed us. They showed a cow getting slaughtered from the minute
Okay.
we didn't see the bolt going into the brain, but they strung it up and sliced it down the middle. And then I think I said this before in the show, but they cut the cow's tongue off and threw it on a tray and showed it to us. And it was moving it was like Rice Krispies.
Stop it.
It kept moving. True story. Vince, are you throwing up yet?
Thanks for ruining Rice Krispies, Chad.
So then this year we had a bottle calf. We farm and ranch now too.
A bottle calf?
We had a bottle calf. It was a twin, and the mom wouldn't take him.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
And I did not know this, but my husband says this is true, and he would know. You kind of sometimes, if they don't learn how to suck, you have to beat them a little bit, like actually get their brains working. So
Okay.
Nick nicknamed him Rocky because he had to take so many beatings. Well, he never did figure out how to nurse from his mom, and he's like, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, the girls were dying for some chores." So we bottle fed this calf for entirely too long. Like apparently we did it the whole wrong way. But anyways, then it took time a couple weeks ago to sell him because it was time to take him. That's the story that reminded me of it. And here I am. They wanted to take pictures with him. And then by the time, and everybody was crying, then we had to load him up. And I was like, this did not. And we reminded them the whole time, like, you will get the money from Rocky. We will sell him. That's what we do when we sell the calves, blah, blah. By the time I got in the house, my one kiddo had already put in the cart 3 necklaces, gold necklaces that said Rocky on them. Compared to like my childhood where it was like, this is an animal. This is what we do for a living. So I think we went the other way, but
All right, so 2 things I've come up with. We're losing our sponsorship with PETA off of this episode.
sorry about that.
And number 2, we just learned out how Rebekah really got her black eyes because if her husband beat the cow, she's probably got beat too.
Nicholas, no, that's not the case.
There's a lot of gaps in this episode already.
Yes.
She's sleeping around, black eyes,
A lot of
just
gaps.
stabbing.
Wrap it up.
This is possibly the most criminal person we've had on the show.
Should not be what you thought this morning, I hope.
We didn't know that.
It's usually the ones that are most unexpected, you know?
It is. It's true.
Why did you really move from West River?
Right.
Take too many people to the train station?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, did you watch Yellowstone?
No.
Okay.
No. There's no
That's
moral
right.
character, and I just like to remind everybody. I don't even watch westerns. They're too close to the heart. We didn't want to leave. So I mean that's a episode later, but we didn't want to leave, so I just see my dad and the heartache. So no, I do not watch any of that. I can't.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
That's what I hear.
I think it'd be super cool for people who grew up like you in the country to live in the city and then vice versa, like a foreign
yes.
exchange
Absolutely.
program of some sort, because I think it helps everybody appreciate how they grew up. Because I think a lot of people don't value where they grew up until they see the grass is not always greener on the other side.
And we had that unique opportunity to see that though, because we moved in the middle. And and people were super tight. My siblings were very tight. And I think that is because we just got into mischief and discovered life outside of a TV screen and all those
Yeah,
things because
yeah.
it's what we had together.
Was your mom a great cook?
Yes. Yeah, really good.
Why do you think
Really good.
it feels like there's a lot of women that come from the country? And I'm saying not to be sexist or like that, but
No.
guys that live in the country, they don't cook a whole lot, do they?
No, my dad had a few good things that he actually did like it, but again, he's super smart, so he liked baking because it was like chemistry and science and
Yeah.
stuff. But no, my mom they called them Becky Homekis. So like she went to school
Becky
to like
Homekis.
learn how to cook and sew and all that stuff. So she was very good. Like and we always thought our buddies would be like, they had a bowl of cereal. We had like French toast and eggs, and we even had what's the fancy egg? Eggs Benedict.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's just what my mom. That's how she wanted
Wow.
to
Fancy.
serve and.
So that's a good transition because now that you've moved to East River and you guys are the new kids in the block, what was that transition
It's
experience
just terrible, actually. I mean, I wouldn't say terrible. Volga is a really
like? Terrible for Volga?
awesome school.
But you guys caused that much
the transition
chaos?
was tough. It's two twins moving in. I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
Oh, I thought it was terrible for Volga because you guys caused so much chaos.
Probably. No, because we were just like, how did these guys react here? It was just tough. Two twins moving in. They thought we would steal boyfriends and all that stuff. And we didn't. And it's a faith story, but I found Jesus that summer. So I decided when I'd moved that I was like going to befriend all the misfits and like choose a different path. So it was really rough for me and all the things that I learned of being on the outskirts, quite literally, like physically. And then mentally, I was like, nope, I'm going to choose different things. So, but Sarah and I, even we could have separate rooms when we moved to this new house. And by 2 a.m., we were in the same room. So like just tight.
Now, how old were you when you moved again?
17.
17. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's like right in the middle of the
High school.
Were you like a junior already?
Yep.
Or-
Junior.
Okay.
Junior and senior year.
So just one more year left or a year and a half. That had been kind of tough.
It was. Yep. It was interesting. There's another part of the story that I hope everybody like takes away different things is our senior year, both Sarah and I were on the homecoming court. And I think it's because we were in so many things so people knew us. And in that school, you can vote. It's not just the seniors that vote for the king and queen. The whole high school can vote.
Yeah.
And I won. And so then it was like, and it was funny because my family was there. It was my grandpa's school. So that was kind of cool. And they were sitting in the front row and like the people that attended, they put the crown on my head. My whole family didn't even stand up. They were like, what? What happened here? And then, so it was kind of a funny, but I think it was they just picked the person that hadn't been there since she was in kindergarten, and I thought it was like, let's just do something fresh. So it was an honor, but it didn't end up favoring me because then it was just like a target on my back kind of.
Dum, dum, dum.
They were pretty good about it, so I don't want to, it was just an interesting experience to think about.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Well, so what happened after high school?
Went to college for radio and TV broadcasting because I had done radio in high school a little bit. I thought it was a really creative job, which it wasn't creative enough because I do something different. But I did like the adrenaline rush, and I loved interviewing. I liked questions. And that was from a teacher way back in 6th grade who said, you're really good at interviewing. I was just a 6th grader. One sentence, and I was like, I never thought about it. But I think it was just natural curiosity.
Sure.
So then when they do that job shadowing in high school, I thought, I'd like to shadow a radio station, see what it's like. And then I got a job there. And then, and it was just like serving coffee, writing some copy, but they would, of course, correct it.
Yeah.
And then I did the AP press stories, and that wasn't enough. So I said, hey, do you guys need a janitor? So then I was their janitor. And then I noticed they needed a new paint job. And I was like, hey, can I paint? And you can pay me to paint. And so I was very like entrepreneurial no matter what the position was. I was still looking for like, is there other things I could do here? Yeah, that was
That's
my
cool.
college and in love. And so I actually did radio and TV because I'd already had some experience. So I figured I could like do a 4-year degree in 3 years. And I did so that I could get married and then do whatever I wanted. I think I always knew like I wanted to be able to stay at home, raise children, and do whatever I wanted. And so I got the radio over with and then chose different things. Yeah.
So how did you get into the design space? When did that start?
That was when I was 4 years old. I watched my mom sew, and she was always so happy in her studio, sewing room, basement room, whatever you want to call it. And I just remember thinking like, this brings her a lot of joy. Probably didn't know it at the time, but reflecting, that's what it was. Anyways, then when we were newlyweds, I made some Christmas gifts, and they were purses because when I was 4, I started sewing then. And then I sewed throughout high school and college with 4-H and my wedding, and I would make Sarah wear everything, my twin sister. I would design it, and then she would have to wear it. Bless your heart, Sarah. Anyway, so I had a little bit of design background there, and then I loved purses. So while I was bored in radio, I would come home from radio and sew some purses, and then they started taking off.
So how old were you when that started?
21 when I started the purses. I made them for Christmas gifts, the first one.
And then when did Rebekah Scott Designs kind of start taking off?
I think my sales tax license says '04, which means 20 years this year.
Wow.
And I was like, that can't be right. But I must have registered it before I was like, sure I was going to do it. Because
Yeah.
I still I've been saying 15 years. So I'm like, I'm something, there's a gap here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So how did you know, like, hey, this is actually something that might actually go somewhere?
How did I know? I think I knew what I wanted. I wanted to stay at home and have children and sew. So that was so strong. So I didn't know if it would take off or not, but I knew it had a little bit of steam. So because
steam.
the other vision was bigger, I was like, well, let's try it. And if it doesn't work, then I'll try something else.
So were there gaps in the purse world, or you're just like, I just want to make what I want to make, and I think other people are going to like it?
I did. I tried all kinds of things. I started with purses, and I did duvet covers alongside the purses because they just kept taking off. And then I tried a children's line that was really cute, and I did baby shoes for a while. I did some beadwork for a while, but I still kept doing the purses because they were the #1 seller.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the sales outlet that? I mean, was it all online, or what's that journey look like?
In the beginning, it was like, again, I recruited Sarah Bear, paid her with chocolate,
Sarah Bear.
and we would go to every little town festival, in the summer where they're like, it's Hartford Days or whatever. Oh man,
Yeah.
we were laughing so hard. We did Hartford Days. I think it was Hartford or Humboldt. Anyways, it was $30 for a booth. So it was super cheap. And then I could set up and say hey, here's my purses, but book a show. That's when trunk shows were really popular.
Yeah.
And we would laugh because we would show up and there'd be security, and they'd have their vest on and it was a very official craft show. And we're like, what? So just a lot of hot days in the sun, nobody buying anything. And so then we would just learn, I'm just going to tally how many business cards I hand out instead of how many sales, because it was the only thing that was measurable at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any other mishaps you learned early on that you would do a little bit differently now?
Well, tons of mishaps. I would have trusted my experience sooner. So I had a catalog made because I had a whole podcast on this, but I had asked my sales reps, which by the way was Sarah, my college roommate, and then one other guy I kind of knew. So I asked them hey, let's book more shows. How do you think we should do that? And they asked for a catalog. And I was like, sweet, we can do that. We'll hire a photographer, blah, 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 blah. The long story is I asked the wrong audience. I should have asked my customers what they wanted, not my sales staff.
Yeah.
And they weren't mean-spirited or didn't know any better. They just thought that would work. And I knew the answer was website, but I asked the sales reps instead. Anyways, so by making this catalog, the layout was terrible, but I thought, well, she says she's a graphic designer. I have to trust what she says is best. And then the model was a 12-year-old. And the model for the catalog, so it just photoed her from the waist down, so all the purses were down by the knees.
Okay.
I knew that wasn't right either, but I
Yeah.
thought, well, I better trust. And they had this whole model shoot, and I better, I would have been more vocal, but I was still well, they're the experts, they're the experts, they're the experts. And not staying on my own 2 feet, well, maybe you're the expert of how to sell it. So that was a very expensive lesson.
Yeah, it's fascinating how a story like that comes to be, where someone's like, oh, let's get a 12-year-old involved, and you don't think about the height difference and how long the straps need to be on the purse.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Well, that's interesting too, as early on, you said that you felt like these are the experts and that you may not know better. You have that little bit of self-doubt.
Yeah.
And then as you mature as a business owner, you go full circle where you're like, oh, I don't have enough time for this. I need the experts. I
Yes.
need the experts now to come in and take care of this for me because I don't have the time. But when you're early on, you kind of flip the boat a little bit.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that, but that's very true.
Or the people that you think are experts aren't as experty as you need them to be.
Right.
For someone to go, when we crop this photo, yeah, that purse is hanging a little low
Yeah.
Yeah.
than a typical person. So what we're going to kind of down that entrepreneurial route, what would be some cautionary tales for people who they're like, well, you know what? Rebekah saw her mom doing this and then she really liked it. So that tells me if it's your passion, you always hear this all the time. If it's something you're passionate about, then you should do it. Do you agree with that statement or not?
Well, I think your passion can change. So I don't think that you have to. I think you should try it at 1%. I'm big on that. Like, just try it. Like,
Yeah.
and there's no excuse not to try things now, right? You can just stick it up on Facebook Marketplace and try it.
Yeah.
But it might just mean it's showing you an avenue that could be a possibility, but it doesn't have to be that you do it for 20 years. So I like to say just try it at 1% or 10% and see what that would look like. But no, I don't think passions are always a 40-year route. Sometimes they can just be a 5-year thing.
So what do you think are some of those mistakes that you see as you're dealing with other people that are trying to grow their small business? What are some of those common mistakes that you see people make that you're like, oh God, it's like a train. I know it's going to be wrecking and I can't not watch, but gosh, I wish they would have done that differently.
Gosh, guys, these I should have prepped for because that is a fantastic question. And I think so. Trusting, again, like trusting what you want your brand to look like and how you want it to be perceived. Like trust that with some feedback, but it doesn't always mean just because their title says expert or consultant or a whatever that it's going to be the right fit for what you need. So I think this is part of the West River vein too, is like maybe I'm not as clean and spiffy and as professional as East River. And so I think a lot of times there I approach things by they must be the expert. And so growing into that. And then other things like to avoid when I see with small businesses is that the chaos, that's all chaotic and it's totally fine. This is how it's going to be. And I'll do work really good this week and then I'll do home life really good next week or tomorrow or whatever. And I'm like, no. Because we always have that like hustle mentality, not always, but it's kind of there. I always have to keep mine in check. You'll do that for 20 years until you're burnt out, or 10 years and then it's a mental breakdown. Yeah. And so I would always tell them like, hey, just pace yourself. I think you can do both of them, but you can't get to the 100 subscribers on YouTube tomorrow. So like just plant some seeds and then see which one of them is taking off more. Like trying to do all of it at once and just hustle culture, hustle, chaotic. It's totally fine. Like, no, it's not. You're going to burn out really quick.
So speaking of that, like the metrics and like that, what has been that, whether it's a social media platform or word of mouth or your website, what's been the platform that's helped you the most?
Facebook Lives.
Really?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. It's Friday and the sun is shining and it's for sure. I love them. Like I love the play button and I love the adrenaline rush.
I love the play button.
I wish I could,
It's like
the
radio.
little like, oh, yes. And I love the community building. Even though I can't see them, I've gotten to know so many of them because they'll come to a show. I do a lot in the Midwest. So then they'll come and say, hey, I'm Robin. And I tune in. I'm like, oh my gosh, Robin, tell me more about yourself. So then when I'm live, I could say, Robin, how is, I was a pleasure to meet your mom at Fargo. How's she doing? All those things. So Facebook Lives have made me very relatable to people. Yeah. And I love playing, it's the game show thing. Today we're doing Finish That Phrase at noon today. I can't wait. So and I get to wear costumes. And so I think it's like a little bit of the radio and TV background, but Facebook Lives drastically changed things for me.
I mean, I've seen some of your stuff and you're very, you just like put it all out there. And that's the fun part is you're not, I'm not afraid of what this person thinks or whatever. I'm just going to throw myself out there. I guess vulnerable might be the word, but you're just unapologetically, you. And I think that's got to be super appealing for people.
I think so. I mean, it's so stinking fun. I just love it. I love selling my stuff. So there is that, I do like what I do, but I just like thinking about how it can help the person and who's going to show up today. And if there's a bad mood, because I had a lot of people come to me after probably a year of them that were like, I just like watching you because it gives me energy. And I think, really? Okay. So if I can spread it out, that's what I'll keep doing.
Throw it out there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be right back.
So are you aware of I'll get his last name incorrect. I don't remember his wife's name, but there's a player for the San Francisco 49ers. His wife, it's Juszczyk, but it's spelled Polish. It's kind of hard. But his wife now has become a fairly well-known designer, and somehow, some way, one of her jackets was created for Taylor Swift, so that she could wear it to the games to support her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, of my beloved Kansas City Chiefs. And now
good year for you.
She has this license deal with the NFL.
Oh, cool.
Where she's making things for women who want to represent a team, but the NFL for years and years and years has done a really bad job of either marketing to women or creating things that fit correctly. And I just thought, when I saw that, I thought about you.
Oh.
Like, what that would feel like for somebody to get this license deal.
License. That's cool.
How cool would that be?
That would be very cool.
Do you have any famous people that have purchased your purses?
I do. Yeah, we had something go viral. It was a quadruplet mom. Or quintuplet, four. She had 4. And all of a sudden we had 70 orders from Australia. So that was kind of fun.
Wow.
Australia is known for having lots of multiples.
Really?
So that one took off. We were also on Ellen DeGeneres' show, but it's so funny, you guys. It's way, 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 way in the background.
Oh.
We put a circle on. We're like, our purse is on the Ellen DeGeneres show, and it was because that mom had went on the Ellen DeGeneres show and she brought her bag.
Did you get a shout out?
No,
Aw.
no,
shout from
but
Ellen.
we did do all the things. Back to your question about small businesses too. Is I would say continue to know what your strengths are and keep asking your customer what they want, because it's easy to be like, we have to do Facebook Lives now. And I'm like, no, not if you don't show up authentically and like it. You don't have to ask your customer what they want. If they just want a personal video of you showing what your service is to them then do that. But don't. That's what I get a little nervous when people go live and they're really awkward. Oh man, it makes my skin crawl. I feel so bad. I'm like, just relax. They're like, I can't. Just come on, just relax. I'm like, this is not a good idea. I'm like, nope. Let's just do a video instead of live, because sometimes the live aspect is what throws people off. So don't do what the standards are just because everyone's telling you. Do what's more natural.
Well, I like what you said there, to do what the customers are looking for.
Yes.
And I mean, initially you always get into something because it's something you like to do. And it's probably a little bit naive or vain to, I'm going to do this because this is what I want to do. Well, usually get into business to solve a problem that you had that you think other people have.
Right.
And if you stop solving those problems, then people are going to probably go elsewhere and find somebody that will listen to their problem.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating you're able to use your radio background and still use it in your retail business.
Right.
Like the talking to people, the Facebook Lives. That's a hallmark, radio DJ right there, but you're purse DJ.
First DJ.
We joke about with my team too. It's like all the weird experiences I have. For example, my current social media manager is an accountant.
Wow.
But I picked her because of her personality and I knew what she could do. It's so it's funny, and she'll have past experiences where I'm like, actually, we could use your accountant background right now. And I had a gal that counted tractor parts and she does inventory with me now. I'm like, see, that job. Here we are using it. You just don't know. Yeah.
Training. So how did the Encourager Academy and then the podcast, how did that evolve out of Rebekah Scott Designs?
People always asking me how at the shows, how are you doing this? Because they would see a picture of my 4 kids and that we farmed and ranched and that I was Christian and they were like, wait. And you have 20 employees. How are you doing this? Yeah. And I couldn't answer it in 2 to 3 minutes because I wanted them to buy a purse. So I was like, I'll record a bunch of podcasts and tell them. And then the academy I was raised in the thick of raising kids, so I needed a place that they could watch it on their own without me coaching side by side. And so the academy took off there, and you helped make it beautiful. And I think of our studio experience. Guys, I was their fastest talking person ever.
Right.
But anyways, so the academy was a place that they could go to feel encouraged and that you can do it. Because the messaging right now is it's chaotic and it's fine and you can only do one thing at a time. I'm like, that's not true and not possible. It's not like you're going to stop being a mom.
Right.
Or you're going to stop trying to pursue your passion. You could do both. And so I just wanted to keep the messaging that, no, you can do both. I'm doing it. I'm energetic, but I still sleep really good, you guys. I'm not crazy.
What an awesome message, because people are nowadays thinking they have to pick one or the other.
Yes,
and to be
and
able to
that's
have
not
your
true.
cake and eat it, but you have to do it smart.
Right. Yeah. And so you have to have systems in place, which is what the academy is. It's all the systems that I do, but it's self-guided. So I like to cook because I'm like a ranch wife, so I like to cook. But if you want to get your takeout every night, I don't care. But write it down. That's what you're doing. And don't feel guilty about it. This is how I do my food system.
Yeah, it's a fun. I see. That's been, how long has the academy been out? A couple of years?
3 years, I think.
Wow.
Has it been 3 years? 24? Yeah, 3 years. Yeah.
Are you looking at a version 2.0 anytime soon?
We did add the home system. So we added a 5th system. It was 4 systems, and we added a 5th system, and that one's one of my favorites because I love home decor.
Yeah.
Obviously, anything creative. So that's been fun. No, the next version is a book. I want to write a book about grit. How did my West River roots, how has that served me so well, and why is it that I approach things with so much why not? Let's try it. And I think it's from growing up.
Just make sure when you do the audiobook version, you got to slow down a little bit. Otherwise, they're going to be like, she ain't real West River. She's talking too fast.
That's right.
Right.
They'll kick her out. They'll ship her back.
Yes. I'm going to probably have to get some contracts too about stories I can and can't tell.
So what are some of the lessons that you've learned as this entrepreneur and small business owner that you branched out where you would encourage, like maybe use this platform today? What are some of the things that you would use or tell people to encourage them to continue down this pathway? Or maybe you've hit that dead end and maybe it's time to give up. Do you ever think about that?
I always get asked that. Not for me, because again, it's that grit factor. So I can't explain that, but I won't quit. Like, you're just not going to knock me down for very long. But if you are at a place where you're like, I don't know that I can stay in this anymore, I would go back to the 1%. Could you do it at just 1%? Pick up something new that was more stable, and keep that, even if it's just at 1%, you guys. So it might just be one client or one product, but you do put the focus on that. And then if this new pursuit turns out awesome, then you can move in that direction and then let it go. But I just go back to the 1%. And the same thing if you're doing really well at something and you're trying out some things and you're like, I think I really do need to do Facebook Lives. Like, I think people do want to see how I make the product or whatever. Then let's try it. Give yourself 6 weeks to try it. If it's absolutely uncomfortable and your friend is politely telling you stop, then maybe take a look or take another course on how to get better at it. That's the truth too. I've done it so many times that I don't have to think about it. And it was oh my gosh, do not go back and look at old videos, because I too was like, oh boy, we all do that. It's like, oh, that was.
Yeah.
Oh, that's growth.
We've been there. Been there and done that. You go back, go, oh my gosh.
I feel like we need to have Rebekah on for like multiple episodes. There's so much to unpack.
Yeah, we didn't even get to talk about ghosts in the graveyard.
Oh no. Is there one last story or anecdote you want to share? I mean, I know there's a funny one here from Canada that you.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. Actually, that one, so we were seniors in a new school, right? So this is only our second year there. My twin sister went to Jamaica on a mission trip, and I went on the choir trip to Canada. Big, awesome trip. Big fun, because then we weren't together. So it was like, okay, well, what kind of mission are you going to get in outside of me? I'm like, I don't know yet. And my really good friend and I were sitting at a dinner theater that had 1,400 people there. And I've never been to one of those, but, they have dinner, you serve dinner, and then you watch a theater. Well, then at the halftime or the intermission or whatever they called it, they said if you have a birthday or an anniversary, you could come up on the stage. And my friends and I were like, we got to figure out how to get on stage. Who's got a birthday? Nobody has a birthday. Nobody has an anniversary. Nobody has anything. And Jay says, I'm going to propose to you. And I was like, yes, that will make this so memorable. And so we got on the stage, and then they were handing the microphone down to each person that was up there to announce something. And then Jay got down on one knee and said, will you marry me? And I was like, yes. And what we didn't anticipate is that they started clapping on their glasses like at a wedding. And I was dating someone. I think he might have been too. And I was like, I was actually dating my husband. I was like, oh my gosh. And so he bent me over. I'm like, he's totally going to do this. He's totally taking advantage of this. Nope. He put his thumb between our lips, but he did kiss so the audience think it was all real.
What a gentleman.
And our choir directors were like, oh my gosh, get off the stage, get off the stage. But that kind of let's do it. Adrenaline rush was really fun.
I got to relate the story, but I can't say it.
I feel like there's a thread here of this adrenaline that's just do it. It's just like it's a radio personality. It's like, screw it, we're doing it live.
Screw it.
So we always try to end our show with, drawing that thread from your past, your upbringing, your experiences. Is there a moment, a story, a quote, something that someone said to you or you've heard that you still carry with you today in your personal or professional life?
So when we were in the new school, chemistry class, really tough classes in East River, what I learned from my education. And I kept asking questions because none of the other kids would ask them. And I was like, fine. So they would literally whisper like, Becca, ask this, ask this. So I kept asking the chemistry teacher the questions. And finally he was annoyed and he said, what, did you graduate from kindergarten out there? And I was like, ouch. But I was still curious. I needed to pass the class. So I went home, ate supper with my family, and then I mentioned it kind of just casually to my parents. I'm like, yeah, the chemistry teacher said I graduated from kindergarten, and told them the story. Didn't think much of it. The next day, my dad shows up in full Western gear. We're talking Western duster, Western hat. He had his cowboy boots on. We could hear him walk down the hallway, and Sarah and I are like, Dad, what are you doing here? And he's like, I got to have a conversation. Walked into that chemistry room, sat down with the teacher. I'm sure he was polite. He's very wise, but also a little bit intimidating because of his just whatever you would say, cents, and walked out and gave us a kiss on the forehead and walked out of school, and we're like, I don't know what just happened.
Yeah.
And then later that month, I was chemistry student of the month.
No.
But that moment is surge in my brain is that my parents were listening and that I was worthy. Like that my dad was like, I'm not going to let that be the message in your head. And so he decided that the message he wanted to tell me is I was worthy. So when I do messaging and I go live, I want to make sure it's messages that they can take home that no. Don't listen to the world's way of negativity or whatever it is. Like, let's see if we can reverse that with encouragement.
I love that.
That's a great story.
That is.
He's a
That
great
is.
dad. He's really cool.
There are, I'm trying to think who it is right now, but there are people, well, like Tony Robbins, I think he did a video recently with another podcaster, and the podcaster was talking about some negative self-talk, and he said, see what you're doing? And he kind of called him out in a nice way, like, you've got to eliminate that negative self-talk as quickly as you can because it will take root.
Yes.
And it'll build on itself. And it's tough. It's really tough to get rid of that sometimes. But to have somebody around you, like a parent or a spouse or whoever, who can support you and say, no, you're not going to get away with that because this is going to have a long-reaching impact on a kid if you can't stop that.
And I can only imagine, like, all the thoughts in his head and all the roles he was playing and trying to find a job and everything. But he heard that one sentence at the supper table and was like, nope, not going to happen. So cool.
That is a great story.
Yeah.
We all need a dad like yours.
Yes. Yeah. That's why the leather line is named after him. He's a cool dude.
Well, friends, you have heard a little bit of Rebekah Scott today.
Just a little bit.
She's got a ton of different things that she's involved with, her various design brands, her coaching, her podcast. We will share all that with you in our show notes.
Thank you.
And we will hopefully bring her back sometime in the future.
Yeah, for
Continue
sure.
hearing about the epic stories that she's got here. But until then, please continue to be engaged, and we'll see you next time on Nostalgia Street. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. If you're on iTunes, please take a moment and leave us a rating and review.
Head on over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. You'll get access to engaging visuals that complement our podcast content.
Thanks again for tuning in, and we look forward to having you with us on our next episode. So until next time, listeners, stay curious, stay engaged,
And never stop walking down Nostalgia Street.